Okay.
Yeah.
That should be everybody, right?
They should be able to hear us
Shoot something else.
okay. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for getting started a few minutes late here. We were having some connection issues with Teams, but I think we got it all worked out. First item on the agenda tonight is our annual meeting with Rec Board Chair Rachel Bricker. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you.
Last night with National Night Out, I thought it went really well. You guys did a great job. Why don't you tell us what you're up to?
Great. Well, thanks for having me. And I think you have the hardest job at National Night Out because you're slinging hot dogs all night. So, but I thought that went really well. The weather was perfect and everybody seemed really happy.
Hey, Rachel, could you just pull your microphone a little bit more away? Yeah, thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
As far as the rec board goes, we are, as a whole, are really happy with how our programs have been going. The Santa meet and greet, we turned that from the, I wasn't here when they did breakfast with Santa, but now it's the meet and greet, and it seems to get a lot more people in and a lot more families, and they get the photo op and the hot chocolate, and they're pretty happy with all of that. It's a really sweet little personalized with Santa event. So we've been liking that. Same with our Easter egg hunts. Those have been going really well. Zach had a great idea to do a nighttime hunt for the bigger kids, which is really fun. And it's a scavenger hunt around Blueberry, and it's a treat for the big kids to participate in the Easter egg hunt, which they might poo-poo at that age, and get a late night out too. So that's been going really well the past couple of years. And same with our Halloween event, that we get a great turnout for all of that. Zach always knows exactly the fun, cool stuff to order, so people are very happy with the tchotchkes that he gets.
He's a cool dad.
Yeah, I'm always, why did you order that? No, because they're all the fun stuff that my kids love too. As a board, we really work well together. We're all different ages and different, likes and dislikes and backgrounds around how we got to Franklin Park. But it's a really fun group. We really appreciate and respect each other and work cohesively, and we truly enjoy each other. So really a lot of positivity that I have to report, but mostly everything positive. The one concern that board members have brought up to me to ask about, and I'm concerned as well, is over the talk of potential political booths being at the festival this next year. As we all know, our country is very polarized, and with it being an election year next year, we're very concerned with where that could take things. We just don't quite understand the value of having the well, at least the political booths. It was fine this year when people were walking around and kind of just getting to know people, nothing pamphlets, and there wasn't really anything thrown in your face if you didn't want, you didn't want to see it, you didn't want to think about it. So we just think the festival is such a fun family event, and it's really for our community, and it brings people together, and that's our goal, and I think we've achieved that the past many years. And our rec board is comprised of 9 residents of Franklin Park, and we really work hard to make all these events special. And festival is the biggest, the biggest one to do, and we're nervous and apprehensive and not quite on board at all with having anything political there. I know, as I'm concerned not only as a rec board member, but also as a resident and as a mother. I just would not want such a joyful, fun community day to turn into something ugly. It just takes 2 bad apples in that case, or 1 bad apple. And it's just and I'm speaking broadly on behalf of the majority of the rec board, nobody has said that they are pro, like they definitely want that there, but I don't want to speak for every single person, but the majority of people have either told me or piped up on their own, and we're all very concerned about that potential decision. So if you could consider not doing the political fence, that would be helpful.
I can give you a little bit of background on just what we were thinking, and please anybody else join in. There's some issues in terms of free speech and what we can regulate. And I'm sure you know there's an issue this year where a gentleman came and stepped over the line. Our thought, at least what we talked about last time, was that if we limited it to just these 2 booths, it would keep any kind of in your face or interactions out in the crowd, just to these areas. So if you want to learn about it, you can go to the booth and talk to these folks. If you don't, you can just forget about it. You can just sit in one of those booths. We are the, from what we know anyways, the only one in the North Hills that doesn't allow these at the festival. Max, if you want to weigh in on any of the kind of free speech issues that we talked about, feel free.
Difficult, and it has been just really a handshake agreement that we wouldn't have them before. And unfortunately, the way that the court looks at it, that that core political speech is, supposed to be allowed under reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions and everything else, and it is better to engage and have a potential clash than completely have a public event that's devoid of it completely.
Really?
So, yeah,
Wow.
that's, the way it goes. So we are, looking, and as Luke was saying, the first time it came up, it was just something that was immediate, and hey, both parties that have booths just agreed, not to do it. That was okay, but we were getting into needing to enforce some things and saying, well, this is a restriction. You can't set up another booth. You can't. It was getting a little too concerning for somebody to come to the borough and say, well, you violated First Amendment rights.
Oh.
I'm going to sue you under Section 1983.
Is there a different event that we could steer them towards that they could do instead of festival?
That's potential. We've talked about National Night Out and other things, but it's a community event. We have the ability for people to have booths and everything else. It's almost like an all or none proposition. Get rid of all the booths and nobody can do anything. Kind of festival you have then, or acknowledge that there's right to engage in it, and if that is sort of the way it's moving away, that handshake agreement isn't carrying through anymore, that we don't want to draw hard guidelines, have staff have to make quick calls right there on this very sensitive subject either way, and conduct ourselves accordingly. I think we are taking the year to come up, make sure that is clear. Is there a policy we need to put in place? Those types of concerns that are out there. How can it be managed? The sort of idea of the First Amendment zone being put over here in the corner can lead to problems. Well, that's not the prime. Like somebody's in commercial speech is allowed to have the prime location. Why are we putting the corner somewhere else? So now we've even talked about, do we have conversations with the ACLU, some entities that would bring a potential challenge to see, well, what are the ramifications? We worked with them before on our solicitation ordinance, hours of solicitation, things like that. They're not always there just to nail you or to get you. They know there are limits, and help communities find where those are.
Yeah.
Do you think, would there be security, or, just in case somebody gets unruly, would there be more people on hand, or?
The police will be there.
Yeah.
We're actually trying to, make it less contentious. I don't know.
So what are you hearing from the committee? What are their main concerns that they have?
Basically just inviting, or not inviting, but just putting out a platform there that there could be some sort of contentious conversation that might you just never know how things are going to go.
Because you never know who's going to walk up there at the booth.
Or just be upset about things, or somebody gets into a conversation and then turns into an argument, and even something like that. Especially at the festival, my kids would be pretty shocked. I think most elementary kids would be too, and it's just such a fun event that to bring politics into it, especially in an election year, we're all just concerned about that, taking away from the community fun aspect of it.
I think whatever we do, we should certainly keep you guys
Okay.
get
Thank
feedback and figure it all out together.
Okay, that would be great. We
Especially
appreciate
like you
that.
said, because it's an election year. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
That's what I have to discuss. I appreciate you listening.
Oh, of course. Anybody have any questions for Rachel?
Okay.
Well, thanks
I
so
just-
much.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you.
Hopefully you missed
Oh,
bedtime.
thank you, Mayor. Oh, not quite. I'm gonna go drive around the parking lot. Just kidding. It's just that school needs to start soon. It's getting hairy.
I know what you mean.
It's about a month overdue.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good to see you, Mayor.
All right, review August 16th regular meeting agenda. Max?
Sure, a short one so far, knock on wood.
Yeah.
We do have, hopefully not as exciting as last month's, but we do have a conditional use public hearing, a garage slash deck slash anything. The only thing that's a little
Cool.
interesting is, just the property ownership. I mean, this is somebody who, Tim, I don't know what it went up, is this on the other property owners, and this is a potential purchaser? Or
No, this is a mother-in-law's quarters.
Mother-in-law's quarters. So there you go.
Yeah, it's already been approved for that. When it was approved, it was under 1,000 square feet. This is gonna put her over, so.
Go through the process. Okay. Came through with flying colors from the planning commission, so our representatives can attest, conditioned on Tim's staff report. So we've got that. We'll lead from there, keep the court reporter busy. We'll have a public hearing on the comp plan. This is not as structured. I assume Laura's going to give a presentation. She planned to be there to give sort of a quick overview. Had other ones where we have like an ordinance public hearing. We say, well, here's the ordinance, and we read the title. Anybody public comment, nobody knows what it's about. This
She
one's a
actually did
little
a
more.
presentation with planning commission. We averaged that same presentation with updates
Yeah.
to council. Sure.
Something like that, and then just open it for public comment. This would be similar to an ordinance public comment, not so much a public hearing for conditional use. We're not gonna have witnesses, we're not gonna cross-examine, we're not gonna put on testimony or anything. It's just gonna be an opportunity to tell you their thoughts about the Franklin Park, Ohio Township Joint Comprehensive Plan. Planning Commission is planning to do a final review and recommendation the night before, so we'll address that. We have heard comments from the county. I don't think as of yet we've received anything from the surrounding municipalities, Ohio, but no count. And so we had the possibility of voting on it that night if we get Planning Commission's recommendation, but knowing that something might come up, we didn't have the Planning Commission recommendation just yet. The idea for this is to have a public hearing, take public comments, think about them over the next month or so, and take potential action with a motion, resolution to approve the Joint Comprehensive Plan at the September regular meeting. That's it.
When's planning's the night before?
Yes. Well, boom, boom.
There may be an additional resolution that we'll be discussing a little later on. CDBG.
Yeah, it's knocking down things. And that's it. I mean, Sean, anything on there? Squire Ridge 3, is that,
Yeah, we did receive a request late last week. We did the field review and made some improvements to the pond. Grass still needs to grow. We are still working through the stormwater as-built. I do anticipate we'll have comments there from a paperwork perspective, so we'll publish our letter. It's upcoming, but it does look like the physical improvements have been done in the field.
okay. All right, so that one's that. Kathy's destroying some boxes.
Not supposed to
Cindy. All right.
send you in the police.
Oh. All right.
All right, staff reports, Gary.
Yeah, after my report, we had finished the sidewalk on Wedgewood Drive, 180 feet by area we put in up in there. It's all done in place. We're going to be starting our the final paving part over on Georgetown Drive, probably Monday, weather permitting. Everything's done. The curbs are all concrete curbs are all put in by Gary Sipple.
Yeah, looks good.
They pressure washed them and some other stuff to try to make where they match them all up. So
Okay.
But, yeah, we're gonna get in there, hopefully Monday, we got it set up where we're gonna go on Monday, so, they're calling rain right now, so, I think, probably in 2, possibly 3 days, we'll get in and out of there, so. I'd like to, another section on the paving part, we originally, this year, because of the, Ingmar Heights water line, we took that off the paving list. Then we had taken off, I keep thinking rural,
Fox Chase or
we put Fox Chase on there, and then we had, we took off, rural, what is it, rural over there? Over off of, Montgomery Road. We took that off the paving list because of the curbs over there. I'd like to add on Hopkins Church Road to this list too, because I was checking through my numbers on it. The numbers that I came up was 3.75 miles of roadway. By just adding on, with the last, when we added on Fox Chase and we added on Duquesne Lands and Wyman on there, that put us up to 3.75 miles. We budgeted for 4.41 miles of paving this year. I'd like to add on the upper section of Hopkins Church Road. It's 2,400 feet. It's going to add us, it's going to bring us up to like 4.20 miles. It's going to be under what the budget calls for, but that's going to get us closer up to what the budget is. So I'd like to add that to it. That section, upper section is finished on that.
sounds good to me and everybody else.
Yeah.
So under budget.
And then, one other thing that I got is I had some residents complaining over in, Bramblewood Plan about some possible damage on driveways and stuff because of stormwater damage. We checked and, we had the pipes cambered over there. There's 4 different sections of pipe that go through there. There's a 18-inch concrete that runs, alongside the road one direction. There's a 24 that runs the opposite direction. There's a 36-inch pipe that runs down towards Barrington Housing Plan, which goes down into there's a detention area at the bottom of Barrington down in there, that we were basically looking into doing MS4 at some point down there. But anyhow, this 36-inch pipe that's running down through there, it's steel, it's corrugated tin whistle pipe in there. And the bottom of the pipe is starting to become apart. My suggestion is that we need to get in and possibly look at doing a liner on this. We're figuring, we checked it out, we're figuring this pipe's possibly up to 25 feet deep.
Really?
And on the lower end of it where it goes down, down over the hill into the Barrington branch. Possible 25 feet deep down in there. If we had to get in there and excavate that out, it's gonna be extreme, big money. We'd be getting into driveways, we'd be, just with the depth of it, with the hillside behind it. And one other part of that, there's, like I said, there's a T, it's like an X, the way the setup, there's an 18, there's a 15-inch pipe that comes down from Acorn Court up on the 12th, and Acorn runs down, comes down across, down into the plan, and it meets Dogwood Drive, and then there's 2 other ones. There's one goes to the left, one goes to the right. It's 15-inch and then a 30 or 24-inch pipe. They're all concrete pipes there. One that comes down from Acorn is a concrete 15-inch pipe. It could probably use line too at some point. I'm thinking we might possibly think about doing all this at one time, get that out of the way, just to keep ourselves safe. Because of the way the pipes are starting, so they've been separating a little bit in some areas. The way they put them in, probably at the original time, you know, it's kind of questionable on leaving them the way they are. And then the other section of pipe that runs up along Dogwood Drive, it's completely full of material. I'm gonna have to get a jet truck in there to get this thing cleaned out, and I'm not sure how they're gonna get all this material on this pipe. It's pretty heavy.
You already mentioned it looks like concrete trucks, cleaned out the trucks.
Oh,
Into our catch basins, it slowed down a little bit, then it hard.
It actually did that like in 3 different areas, in 3 different sections, these concrete pipes. It flowed, probably just the part of the concrete went down, and settled in one place, and then hardened up in there, and then it's just, you know. Now, the material that's in this pipe, we thought for sure we was gonna see some bad area somewhere in this pipe. There's nothing in there bad, there's no basins bad or anything. We have no idea where this material comes from. It's half full of pipe. I mean, there's rocks in there probably this big, and And, it's gonna be a challenge getting clean.
Do you know how long when you line it, how long is that supposed to last, the lifetime of it?
Well, they're saying that inside pipe was saying, what, I think 50,
That's right.
57
Yeah, I think
years.
so, yeah.
We did the one over here on Lenore over here, we did a pretty
Right.
nice job. We had another company come in here, me and Reeves, and sat down and talked to the guy. I wasn't probably, I don't think it's a very good way. They line their pipes, they go in, if they have a 15-inch pipe, they put like a 12-inch liner through it, so they're cutting down on the size. Then you have to cement it in place to keep it all in place there. So, I mean, inside pipe, when they put this liner through, they blow it up and it actually expands out to any of the voids or whatever's in there, and then they heat cure it in place. And it does a pretty nice
You have
job.
to assume those work with us again.
It's
Yeah.
expensive. It's
Didn't go well
expensive.
on
I
oil.
was gonna say.
And I'm sure, yeah, they will. I talked to Bob Carpenter with the Insight before there on a couple other situations and that, and yeah, I'm sure they would come back out with no problems.
So you just want to get some estimates and see what we're.
Yeah, I definitely want to get some estimates, but I want to probably turn this over even with, through CNC,
Yeah, talk to
CAC, and to get Justin to, I'm going to get him to look at the flash drive that I have, because it's kind of questionable all the way around. And I think especially the tin pipe to 36-inch, we got to do that. I don't think we have any way or any other choice on that one.
It sounds like it.
So, I mean, I'm gonna get some, try to get some pricing on it, see what we got there. So,
Any questions, comments?
other than that's all I had to add for you.
Thank you. Tim?
We have, the planning commission, just the, comp plan review and recommendation. And then, no new applications. Zoning hearing board, we have 2 variances. Both front yard encroachments. And,
At least I'm not the only one.
Let's be fair.
I'll make you come out for nothing.
well, you're right. If the other one wasn't there, I'd
You
really
really
be
get
looking at you.
Any questions for Tim? Okay, good. Zach?
You have my report. I have nothing to add. 2.5 weeks of camp left. We will get there. Hopefully this rain can hold off on Monday because that's one of the big camps.
I saw the kids today waiting in Big Squiggly Creek.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Eco camp. They'll be down there at Lynbrook next 2 weeks or 2 days. So yeah, they've got a big northern water snake.
Really?
4-footer they caught in
Oh,
the
yeah.
net today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got. Yeah. No, he tells the parents immediately. He said one kid ran away last week. He saw about a 6-foot rat snake.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, at least it didn't fall out of the tree on you. Yeah, at least it was on the ground. So yeah, they're finding lots of good stuff this year in Eco Jam.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's what they're there for.
Any questions for Zach? Great job last night on National Night Out.
Hey, you're the star of that night.
Oh, yes. Sure.
Good job.
Jim?
I have my report. The only thing I didn't have for the golf course is last month we did finally get our POS system up and running.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
That's one of the reasons why I don't have the numbers through this month yet. Working with Gina, the first couple of days, the numbers weren't matching up with the reports. So we're trying to figure out between them and total touches to where just, there's, minor things. Like your
Sure.
credit card didn't match up one day, the cash didn't match up one day. So it seems like more of their internal problem, but since the 3rd day, it's been running well. Gina can pull the reports and Cindy can pull the reports right from their computers here. Same thing I can see,
You don't
so.
have to give them a social security
The
number.
customers love it. They're, because now we finally have a credit card reader that,
Yeah.
we don't have to handle their card
That's
anymore. They could do Apple Pay. It does everything. So, and all the reports come straight here. So,
Great, course looks great.
yeah, of course, we've been very busy.
Yeah.
And
It seems that.
the weather's good and bad at times for us. We have rains when we needed it, and at the same time, it's too much rain, and so it's a battle daily. But the conditions are really good right now at the moment, and customers, love what they're playing on. So
got lots of compliments in the fire department and here. It looks great.
Yeah, the parks,
Part of the building.
yeah, the guys have done well with the parks. And,
Yeah, very much
and, you know, so our biggest focus now is football.
Yeah.
You know, their first game's in 2 weeks, so
Wow.
we'll get the field whipped into shape and all the facilities around it, so. Other than that, aim towards fall. We've got tons of projects in the fall for the guys in the parks to keep them busy for the next couple of years at least, so. But other than that, that's all I got.
Sounds good. Any questions for Jim?
Just did want to say that, thank Jim and Zach and also Donna for their work on the golf out, as far as the golf out. I wasn't there unfortunately, but I understand it went very well.
It did go well.
Had 76 golfers, I believe.
76, I think. Yeah.
Good weather.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great weather.
Want to break that 80 one of these days. Try to get to 100. That's our goal next
Next
year.
year.
100 strokes, 100 degrees.
Dennis and I'll come back and we'll get you over the strokes.
We tried it last
All
year.
right, thanks, Jim. Sean?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of updates since we published our memo last week, and then did want to have a discussion on status of the curb and gutter replacement program. So I'll hit the easy stuff first, and then end up with curb and gutter. So updates since the memo, fire alarm system replacement. We are meeting with staff, re-engaged with Andy here to start that project moving along. Have a status meeting with our sub-consultant WNA tomorrow to move that along for a fall bid here. On the agenda, the regular meeting agenda, I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but we did receive a minor subdivision plan, a review letters forthcoming. We have taken a look at it. We don't foresee any big issues. The recording clauses aren't correct, the paperwork type stuff, so I think that should be in good shape for consideration in a couple of weeks. Acorn Park, working towards submittal to DCNR next week to get that in for approval. And I think the memo contains the rest. We did get the permit for Blueberry Hill Park. Taylor Ridge, I think you may have driven by and saw the sidewalk has been constructed. We haven't gotten a formal.
Oh, it's constructed. I saw that it was laid out.
Yeah. We haven't gotten a formal request for like inspection, dedication yet.
Which we should kick them because we
Yes.
Send
Maybe
them
we
a
just do it
letter.
proactively and
Yeah.
take a look out there.
Fly by last Wednesday and.
Okay.
but at least,
So if it's, yeah, September one,
yeah.
so we have to do something on the 16th,
Well,
correct? Or If
If
it's
we
not.
want to, this one, because it has been so long, 20 years or so, they had not been doing annual increases. As we started to do that for all the new developments, we've gone back. And that was one of the reasons I think we finally spurred them to do something with the sidewalk. And I think last year they did do an increase. There was one point they did do a 10% increase, first time in forever. There was a little pushback this year in terms of, hey, we're doing this sidewalk, we're removing the retaining wall, so that should change our amount anyway. And then it went quiet for a bit. We didn't get one way or the other. We asked for a follow-up or a status by July 27th and didn't receive it. So positive that work has been done, whatever we can do to kick them to get a reduction in, that would be the best.
Do we want to,
No, I don't
You
know
need
in
Sean,
terms
that's
of,
what I-
Sean, in terms of your,
do we just want to proactively issue an updated dedication letter?
I think it might make
Here's what's
sense
on the list, Here's what's done.
to remove that retaining wall,
Right.
because I don't think that ever was formally removed from their amount.
No,
I would
we
say-
held that in the bond.
Yeah, because that's a big number that I was
So
looking at here.
maybe if we're okay, let's issue them proactively. Maybe say you got this done, here's the stuff that's left.
Right.
Let us know your schedule for finishing this, and you can at your leisure request a bond reduction regular.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not so much the expiration of their letters of credits, because they have continuing renewals. It's not like it expires September 1st, but, we had used that to increase it by 10%, have them go again, we can maybe,
May want to reach out to the bank there too, because,
well, when
I
they
know-
haven't sent us the 90-day.
no, you're
notice, so-
you're right, but I think he was the bank was under the assumption
Okay.
that he was gonna request the acceptance,
Mm,
so.
okay. Well, maybe we'll copy
But
him
they thought
on
that
their
back in
letter.
2014 too, when I was going back through all the
Yeah, right.
emails, so.
Oh. I think, yeah, do an updated letter, remove the
Maybe it'll
cost.
prompt them.
Yeah,
There's just a couple things left.
and then we'll maybe, let's take a look at it before, maybe we just throw in the 10% increase. It might be lower than what their numbers are, but at least it is covering an increase.
And that then closes out Taylor Ridge.
That is just getting them to where they are now. I mean, if they're gonna go for dedication, I don't know, have you done?
No, but I mean, no additional work, major work needs to be done there.
I don't know, do they have any?
Sidewalk is there.
They did have other punch list items cleaned up. I mean, they did final paving the road and all that, so, that's the thought. If they see some of this other stuff drop off and it's just down to this, maybe we can incentivize a little bit to get to the finish line.
It's been a while. And I guess Melissa's gonna do another house down there.
Yeah.
That's good progress.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Steiner.
Just to,
Sean is,
oh, sorry.
Sean is one of the right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
Oh,
curves
sorry.
A couple quick items, actually. Just wanted to bring up two, some upcoming grant opportunities. LSA, the local share account, is going to open September 1st. It's due at the end of November. So just food for thought for now. It's a good program, no required match. Of course, if you have a match, it incentivizes the reviewing agency. Very wide range of eligible projects, though.
Could potentially include planning for sound barriers along the interstate.
Planning's okay. This one, different than most, allows you to submit for vehicles, equipment, and building work as well, too. And then normal infrastructure, recreation, that sort of thing. So do it end of November. The other one that we think is coming out, notified by a COG, not North Hills, but another COG, the county hasn't published, is GEDTF. The other COG told us that applications were going to be due, notification Monday, by September 7th, so a very quick turnaround. That one's similar to LSA, again, no match, $500,000 max, no equipment, no building, no vehicles, but any sort of infrastructure, so stormwater stuff, MS4 wise, parks and recreation, anything there. So I get food for thought for both of those that are on the horizon. Both of those are good opportunities. We often see many awards of 100, 200, 300,000 here, and I think they like to spread the wealth. I think the state reps get a significant say in where that money goes.
Yes. And they will be included in the process.
Yes.
Provide support.
Sounds like a great opportunity. Two great opportunities.
Yes. One short burn probably, and then the other one gets some time. Last item then is our continued back and forth with Palumbo for the current curb and gutter program. So a couple updates. Gary and I met with them a few days ago. We thought that we had an agreeable solution in that they were going to finish a little piece at Sturbridge because the rest of it was almost done. And then we were going to have them do the entirety of the curb on an individual road. Getting close to what the quantity was, thought that was going to be agreeable. In the end, not agreeable to that. They feel that, I agree, they feel that it is more expensive to replace the curb in its entirety. Our view is that mobilization and the setup and all of that, they are adamant that they cannot and do not feel that the contract allows for that. So I think discussion tonight, I guess just quick aside of positive stuff in this, we did review the sidewalk along Brant School Road, no issues there. It's fine. We went through specifically looking at the two lots that are the gap that they're going to skip. So although they've been told several times, we've looked at that field, walked along all the way to the EMS lane. So okay to move there. So discussion we want to have tonight was.
Quick on that, Sean,
Yes.
did they give a timeline on that yet?
So they were thinking for sidewalk, and again, we've got to resolve kind of what they're doing otherwise with curb. Was they thought they could be back to finish the Sturbridge curb at end of August, and then they do the sidewalk immediately after that. So end of August, end of September.
Okay. It just gives me a chance to give the residents their heads up.
I would be surprised if they were to the sidewalk prior to like, September 1st. It's probably closer to mid-September.
So I'm just hoping we can get something on it. One of the residents said she welcomes the sidewalk comment.
So good.
That would complete Sturbridge all the way around, curb wise.
Yes, that's the, Gary can correct me, that was
Yeah,
the
there's-
leftover from what was done before.
Yeah, there was one section that wasn't done, it's probably around, I think, 300 feet, somewhere around 300 some feet to finish us up over there. That would, that took, that's Gloucester Court, or Brimfield Court, Gloucester, and Sturbridge Drive. So that'll do all them.
So a discussion to have is how we want to proceed, just in sharing information too, just taking some facts. But the other call today was, I had shared with you before that their offer was $50,000 to let them out of the contract. It's reduced to 32. I don't think that makes a material difference. In sharing information with everybody, that was the call today. So,
And that's their preference.
I think their preference actually, it's hard to say. I think they're okay finishing and doing the spot repair. I think they'd obviously take the payout and go, but obviously there's complications with that as well too. So I think the conversation is how much we want to push here, and does this become a legal matter there, and then, are we adamant? No, and we're gonna fight for this, just do the one road. I think there's some interpretation of the contract there, or are there roads that we think that, we fulfill the majority of the obligation with spot repair. The quantity in the contract is not guaranteed to the contractor either. So the number that was bid was 3,000 linear feet. The contract says that it can be increased or decreased per his discretion. If there is a degree of being reasonable, we can't reduce 3,000 to 300, which is what they're at. But, if we're at 75% of that, I don't know that they have much of a claim. We often have contracts that are over 100 by that. So if that's the middle ground, and Gary and I didn't really discuss this much, if there's roads that we want to finish with spot repair, have them finish, be done with it, option, or if we're adamantly no, we're not doing any more spot repair, then I think we have to go to the next step from a legal contract perspective of how much do we want to pay. Because the offers have not been well received so far to juggle this scope.
And there's still the footage, there's still enough footage in Roll Oak. It was like 1,200 feet over there that would have put a good amount onto that, for them doing that over there too. So, I mean, if we wanted it back over here, but it's still going to get us back into the same predicament we are, if people are complaining about the way the patches look, and they just.
I'm surprised that they said it's cheaper to finish that. I mean, every year, whoever has this contract fails because exactly that issue.
We had the conversation to great extent. The efficiency, mobilizing once, being in one spot, just set up and go, and four.
So the concern is having those spot repairs that go on the street and get the checkerboard or so. On each street, find one section throughout the entire borough, give them their list, and show boom, 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 so you won't have like 5 on one street. You'll just have one right there, and so that's what we want. Then you don't, you'll have like a little white section. But
Yeah, they're not gonna want to mobilize back and forth all those spots.
Okay.
I mean, that's it. I know what you're saying on
Every single street.
that. Well, they argued the point too, even like when we first went in there, they kept saying, why don't you do long sections?
Yeah, right.
And then now we're giving them a long section that they don't want to do. So.
And if, Royal Oak, and haven't looked at what's out there, but if there are, maybe joint to joint, 20 or 40-foot sections that we're doing in pieces that don't quite have so much as the kind of narrow checkerboard look.
Just pick the end of each cul-de-sac.
I mean, that's one of the concerns. The other is, how long are they gonna sit there before we decide to take them to asphalt? What do you guys think?
We did have somebody file a right to know request on Sturbridge for all of our records about the curb replacement program. Do we have the ability to expand what we're doing in Sturbridge to get us to 75% of?
To what, do all the curbs in Sturbridge?
Yeah,
Are there more kind of
Well, we've been,
areas that might have been gray areas before that we could fill in and
right.
that might be an option.
I mean, we
Yeah,
can
maybe
do,
just do larger sections in Sturbridge so that you're not just doing a little white piece here and then a lot of gray, but it's all white.
So it was someone that wasn't happy with their section.
That's what- that's what
They didn't say
That's-
why,
yeah.
they just filed a right to know request if they wanted them.
then you'll get, probably, I mean, what'll happen is they'll come up and say, well, you did this. Why'd you do small ones in front of my house? And I've run into a few residents and done that,
We can't win no matter what.
No matter what you're
There's no
doing.
good answer.
So if Sturbridge people are
Plus
already
Sturbridge,
upset, then that's.
We could even go further back on Sturbridge too, because we stopped at Brimfield, and where it turns into Brimfield, there's still another probably close to half a mile of road beyond that yet too.
That's when you blow through the cul-de-sac there?
Pardon me?
Is that where you blow through the cul-de-sac in the back?
Yeah, when you go back further, there's actually an old cul-de-sac there, and it goes back, and there's the new plan is through at the end.
Which it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's all okay, and the far end's okay, but there's a real large, big house back there on the left there. Right past his property is where that ends back there.
What do
The older
you,
one.
what do you guys think?
I think if there's a way to get to the magic 75% using their services with what we paid for, so that there's no argument, and we're saving the 25%. If the 25% is more than what we pay out in the demand for 32,000, then we're
Or is it two something? Was the
Which it would be.
contract?
The
Fine.
contract's 189,
187, huh?
so
Right, so
yes,
we
it
have
would be more than
space.
32.
So so that's what we should do as far as money is concerned. So we can set them off someplace, like Gary said, and burn through up to 75%, say we're done.
I don't hate the idea of
Yeah.
saying let's keep them in Sturbridge and not
Yeah.
affect every,
Then we don't have everybody complaining every place.
You think that's doable?
I'd have to check and see back in here, to some areas, that other section here to see,
And what about,
Or I'm more, and started Royal too, I guess. Those two, between those two.
and how much will we burn through by fixing the checkerboard patterns too? They can go back and do,
They'll love that.
The incense.
I was thinking of that too, yeah.
Yeah,
why not?
There you go.
Because
Yeah.
then the residents
Then
will be
they're just
happy, the
pieces.
checkerboard's
Hey.
gone,
right.
Right.
and we've spent the money.
Yeah, that works.
yeah, we can do that. We actually could do that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's an option.
I'm voting,
Yeah.
that's my,
They're gonna love that.
Yeah, if you do that.
You'll have residents saying, hey, thanks.
They
you
might
fixed
want
my
to,
problem."
go to
The
Asbury.
big pieces, yeah.
Yeah.
They use black cement, so it really looks like a checkerboard.
And I did hear, you said Gary Sippel did like power washing when he was doing his.
Yeah, when he was done, he wanted to, he took the new concrete, he wanted the old concrete to try to match it up.
Yeah.
So he had his guys over there pressure washing it didn't lighten them up completely.
Right.
It cleaned them up. It did a
Yeah, it
nice
helped.
job.
Cleaning up is gonna be.
One thing I gotta say is that my hat's off to Gary Sippel because he put a lot of money into this.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, he put it, when they did that one side over there, they pretty much did that whole one side of
Yeah, it looks
concrete.
like
over there.
So what I'm creeping up on, maybe we do some power washing around around the curbs. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely put some money into it.
Okay. Anyway, that's my idea for it.
Yeah, I think we leave it in your hands and see what you guys.
Take a look at
See what they say,
Sturbridge,
see what
see if
you
you can
think,
sort it
yeah.
out.
Don't pay your way out of it, just pay up to it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then, I mean, that might be a good option, just to go back and say, go ahead and cut them ones out, and throw them
Yeah,
in,
but then.
see what they sound.
We'll get, I'm sure we'll get calls for saying, what do you guys think?
I'm sure we will.
Well, we'll
Okay.
get calls when we put the long pieces in the other side.
Yeah. Gary gets lots of calls. Anybody have any questions for Sean? All right, Lieutenant, back to you. Sorry.
That's okay. Just an update to what was in the report with the Karen Drive speed study. The complainant's yard had rather large trees and we didn't have the ability to install it there, but they did find a suitable location and the JMAR is up, and by the next council meeting, we should have a report to provide to you guys with that. As far as the hiring, the ad ran the day after the meeting and has been in the paper for the last 2 weeks, and we've gotten one application. It's a good application, be a good candidate, I think, but I'd like to see a larger pool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people wait to the last minute. We usually get the majority of them on the final day.
What's the last day?
The 21st. Sergeant Leach went over and spoke at the academy class. There are 6 eligible cadets in there. Most of them that are over there now are pre-service for the Allegheny County Police. And the academy would make arrangements for them to come and take the test, even though they're still in the thing. And they would be eligible if we made an appointment after they complete. They're done in December.
Okay.
Probably with the timeline, I mean, we could finish this all up by November.
Yeah.
Would save Kathy a lot of aggravation if we just waited to January. But that's where we're at in there, and that's all I have to add to the report.
Great. Any questions for the lieutenant? All right, Max, you're on.
You have the written report. We do have a couple items for executive session, personnel, but we're also giving an update on the Davies litigation. Stay tuned.
All right, Range, we're at manager's report.
Okay, first item, solar. I only have this on here because I received an email from Rob Brecht asking when these solar panels were due to be installed in the building. And I'm not aware that we have any due date. We spoke in December of 21, and we agreed that we have to replace the Public Works roof, and also the cost had risen to the point where we weren't saving any money by going solar at that point, so we had put it on the back burner. I just wanted to check and make sure everyone's in agreement before I go back to Mr. Brecht.
But I think we were looking at those pandemic prices too, right? That's what it felt like to me, like it might be
Yeah.
worth going back and seeing what it costs now, yeah?
Yeah, I thought the idea was to like wait and hold off and
Yeah.
revisit it.
Yeah.
The municipality might be eligible for some tax credits in the IRA. So I don't know if this is the time to.
But the tax credits would actually go to the,
To the developer, whoever puts it in,
Exactly.
yeah. and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of leasing back arrangement.
That's
We-
what we lease, but if we outright buy it.
Yeah, we did it ourselves. We would get
we
the
don't, but the tax credits don't apply to a nonprofit, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't help us at all.
Mhm.
That's why it sometimes benefits you to have somebody else own the.
It drops the price. They get the tax credit and then the price drops.
But,
Yeah.
you know, we've got the $500,000 grant for the expansion of the Public Works building that includes replacing that roof, because we cannot do solar without replacing that roof. It's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
Nobody will put anything on there without.
So it's kind of step one, replace the roof.
Exactly, and that project, the grant that we got gives us until, I think, June 30th, 2026 to complete that project. And it's estimated to be a $2 million project overall, so
Mhm.
we need to come up with a lot of money ourselves for that.
Sounds a good timeline.
Opioid settlement, we actually received our first check a couple months ago. There are still others out there that haven't been settled. We received $17,414.03. I don't believe there are any strings attached, but I have seen, including a right to know request in Pennsylvania recently, that media outlets are starting to ask, what are you using that opioid money for? Assuming that you're using it for opioid prevention. So the question is, do we want to set up some kind of a program that we educate our residents about opioid addiction? Something we could do through the police department. I'm assuming it's an issue here as it is everywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it doesn't, Doesn't matter how wealthy you are.
Yeah. We already have what is it, the antidote or whatever that they.
Yeah, naloxone.
That's in every single cruiser.
Yes, yeah.
So
We get
that's
that for
not-
free.
Yeah. That's the big, that's the
Yeah.
big thing, but, educational program for the schools. through the-
If you'd like,
through
we
the
could,
Police.
we could talk and see if we can come back to you with some kind
Yeah.
of proposal.
The only, I know prevention early is, but the
Yeah.
schools in Franklin Park are middle school and elementary school.
Yeah.
So, really, it depends on whether that's an appropriate target group or not. Could
Yeah, maybe outreach to our residents, mailers or something, letting them know that here are the warning signs and that kind of thing.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it helps,
exactly.
but this is obvious, but you got a ton of kids from Franklin Park who are at the high school too.
Mhm.
So maybe that helps to at least think about it that way, that you would be educating Franklin
Yeah.
Park kids if you hit the high school.
Yeah, and we
We
could
can
see.
come back to you with something and you can.
Reach. Or Sam, just want to ask, do we have like a Dropbox?
Yes,
Is it inside the building or outside?
it's inside the building. It's in the lobby of the police department.
Would it make sense to have it outside?
No, because then people would break into it and
They
steal
break
all the
into it,
drugs.
okay.
Yep.
It's a really
Yeah.
valuable street.
Yeah, there's, the whole thing is filled full of all kinds of drugs. Most of them you wouldn't want, but there are, opioids and stuff like that, so it's secured and it's cameras on.
Okay, we received, after completing the Wedgewood sidewalk, one of the homeowners on one side of the new section of sidewalk reached out to me and asked if the borough would be interested in allowing him to put a shed on the borough property there. Because his backyard is a steep slope and you really can't put a shed there. I told him I would ask council if you wanted to even consider having somebody put a shed on borough property.
Have we ever come across something like this before?
Zoning issue,
Was that?
comes as zoning issue.
Yeah,
Well,
because of the
yeah.
setback.
But,
Yeah, it's gonna be basically a front yard kind of thing too. It's,
Well, the thing of
It
it
looks
is,
like it from the picture.
it's a vacant lot, so you'd be putting a accessory use without a principal use, so you need a variance. for
now,
that.
I know the borough owns two properties. They're right adjacent to each other. One of them's kind of pie shaped. That one is actually kind of parallelogram.
Then you saw this all on the table.
The majority of that lot is an easement too, so I'm not sure.
I thought it was because we own on the other side of Wedgewood too, and that leads down into where our dam is. So do we even entertain this or just say?
I don't think we've ever done it before, and some built put their sheds in the public park and built a swimming pool. They can remove it. That was a
We've
big
turned
pain,
down
but-
sheds before at the zoning board too. There's no space, there's no space.
So you said the majority of this lot is an easement?
Pardon me?
The majority of this lot is an easement?
It's an yeah, it's a stormwater easement.
Sounds like an answer right
So
there.
you got three strikes against it. You have an accessory use without a principal use. You also, it's in the required front yard. 2 variances required. If you want to change your ordinance for it.
Easement.
And
Easement.
if it's in an easement, we have the right to allow that because it's our easement, I think, but.
We usually document that through an agreement that they will record or otherwise. Does he want to buy the lot? I mean,
Well,
subject to our easement.
Yeah, I was gonna ask council, the next question is, would you have any interest in even considering that?
Yeah, it can't really be developed
Because it's an easement.
because of the easements.
Was it any type of dedicated open space that was supposed to be?
No, it was
Just that
part of
one?
the storm drainage, that goes down to the dam, actually.
Yeah.
It was all,
Yeah, subject to that, subject to our access to it, but you'd still need the variance if it's in the front yard. You can push it back, I guess, but you can remove the lot line.
I was
merge
gonna
the
say, if you
lots.
subdivide, if you put it back together again, if you bought it.
yeah, you just,
I don't
just
know.
a lot line revision.
20,900 square feet, it's assessed at 75,200.
You got access to a creek, it looks like in the back there too. It's a pie shape.
It's not like a giant pipe underneath. What is the?
I'm not sure if it's a pipe or it's just a depression type easement, like a swale.
Yeah, I think it drops off right at the back of the
Right.
PA, so it.
It's not like it's
it may
on
even
top of
drop off.
utility.
Looks like it may even drop off not far past where his proposed shed is, so that may be the only
Yeah, I think
spot.
so.
I don't know.
I don't, when you're over there, Gary, does it look like it drops off substantially?
I
Could you tell?
never noticed on that.
I mean, I
side.
know it's heavily treed, so it's, you
Yeah, I've
have to
never
actually
really
walk
noticed
in
on
for
that
to
side.
look at.
I thought that area towards the one house was kind of had a little bit of level back in there. You're talking the house on the, if you're coming down Wedgewood heading towards Pheasant Run.
As you're facing the new sidewalk, it's the house on the right.
And what are they doing on rural property, like maintaining it and?
They've been cutting the grass on there.
Yeah, I don't know down in there how far it is. Never noticed that down in that area there.
If you bought the property, did a lot line revision, would that get rid of the 2 variances that you need?
But the one variance, if it's in the required front yard, it wouldn't,
Okay,
but it would,
the accessory use one.
yeah, the accessory use would be fine because it would be on the same law as a.
Unless does he already have
Another
a
accessory.
shed on there on the back and
Yeah, if they were-
restriction?
if they already have a
You
shed,
can only have one?
they can put a second shed on.
Yeah, I'm guessing he doesn't have a shade.
No, he would have.
Or two shed garage.
I mean, I'm not
Are you-
entertaining an offer, are you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he can offer to buy, subject to the easement that we need to take care of our stormwater request, right? Yeah, it's fine.
Uh,
Right, I mean, unless you.
I try, on my borough code.
Oh,
in
do we
terms
have
of
to put that
sale,
out for,
Oh, geez.
there's provisions, they have changed them. You may need an appraisal, just because that's the assessed value. It could be more, it could be less. Don't think, we'll have to check, that needs to go out for public bid, or anything, if it's under a certain amount and potentially vacant.
Oh, to do the appraisal, to do the appraisal.
Well, just to do a sale, a directed negotiated sale of the property owner as opposed to putting it out for bid.
So anybody can buy who wants it?
Well, that's the question. I think they had updated the borough code to allow for this because it used not to be allowed, but I don't recall off the top of my head the
Okay,
details,
So we
except
need
for
to
looking at
do a
the
further
swap.
so we have to
Yeah.
revisit this.
I don't think he's in a huge hurry right now, but he just asked the questions. Okay, well, we can move.
In that situation, who would end up owning the shed? I mean, him?
Yeah, well, we're talking about actually selling the property.
Yes, there's
Oh,
another shed. on the
Yeah, I don't-
property.
But how does that affect the selling of the property? Does that have any effect?
Well, he would sell it to him before he built the shed.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't
Yeah,
get
we're-
that down here. Okay.
We're not sure we want to allow him to build a shed on our property, but we may want to sell the
Yes,
property
right,
to him.
okay, I missed that down there, so thank you. I was also concerned if we were to go through with not doing it that way, that we would set a precedent, right?
Right.
Here, no real estate owned by the borough may be sold for consideration in excess of $6,000, except to the highest bidder after due notice by advertisement for bids and advertisement, or advertisement of a public auction.
Is that developable?
Yeah, I think if it was, it would have been.
Yeah, it's not, there's too much easement and not enough buildable area.
But there's still a possibility somebody comes along and goes, I want to buy that and put a garden there or something, right?
Well, another principal use, accessory use. Real estate owned by a borough may be sold at a consideration of $6,000 or less without advertisement or competitive bids only after council estimates the value of the property upon receipt of an appraisal by a qualified real estate appraiser. Prior to selling real estate valued at $6,000 or less without advertisement, blah, blah, blah. Council shall make a public announcement of the council's intention to sell the real estate at a regular or special meeting of council at least 30 days prior to the sale. There is an exchange of real property exception as well. So what we could get.
This is probably a parcel that only has value to the adjacent
Yeah,
property owner with the easement.
Would a portion of it be worth the?
It seems like a lot of work for
Entitled
a shed.
I'm thinking the whole thing might only be worth less than
Fair enough.
6,000, even on an
Okay.
appraisal.
Really?
Okay,
Again, with the easement running through, you can't build on
and
it.
it's unimproved, there's no improvements on it.
Right, so why would somebody buy it and then be liable for it?
It's landlocked.
They would have to come out and shovel the sidewalk every winter.
That's-
Is this the one that the one, the sidewalk we installed, and the HOA takes care of? Is that
I
the
thought
one?
I heard
This is-
74,000. I thought I heard like a $74,000 amount
That was
It
the
is-
That's
assessment
what,
value.
that's what
assessed
the
value by the
county
county.
thinks
for
it's
the
worth.
lot, right?
County's been wrong before.
If we were
trust me.
taxable, we would have appealed that assessment.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They just put whatever they want on it, until somebody complains. So maybe an appraisal's the way to go.
And then they fight it in court.
You wanna pay for it?
Yeah, we'd have to pay
Somebody's interested.
Yeah.
a couple of thousand for an appraisal.
Oh.
That's private breeding, I mean, $500 it's a vacant parcel, it's not commercial.
We would just roll that into the price. The first step would be to reach out to him and explain to him what we're talking about and
Difficult.
see if he even has any interest in doing that. He may not want to spend any money on buying that.
We may be able to trade an acreage. Because the property advice, I mean, just move the lot line and make it work for them. I think it might be another option.
You want to take the stuff behind it.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Like would that be a like kind exchange?
Well, there's exchange of real property, is another section.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, we've got a few options we can possibly
Yeah.
consider. Okay, the final item, this is the time if we want to opt in for the next 3 years to be able to be considered for CDBG grants. They are chiefly for low-income areas. But, you know, we're talking about potential of a water district in Montgomery Road. Most of the houses that would be served by that water line extension are, by Franklin Park standards, smaller, older houses with maybe retired folks in, they're low-income folks, so it may be a possibility. We don't have to apply for a grant during that 3 years, but it gives us the opportunity if we want to consider it. And all we have to do is pass a resolution opting in.
It's a good idea.
Okay, we'll have it on the agenda for 2 weeks.
Knock down houses.
Accessibility isn't income based either. Like if you wanted to do ADA door openers or ADA ramps,
Yeah, there are
That's
some
fine.
things that do, that's correct, some improvements are not.
Okay. All right, reports from council and mayor. I'm going to start with Dr. Lee since Brian's done that.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. I actually have quite a lot to talk about tonight. First off, Julia, welcome.
Thank you.
We all want you to really learn from this experience, you know, and just sit back and absorb. And you're going to hear a lot of conversation that's all unfamiliar to you, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so best thing to do is just try to learn from it and write down a couple questions for us, you know, because your turn's going to come too as we're going around right now and everybody's getting their chance to talk, so you get your chance. So feel free to, and we want you to just jot down. You have so many questions, there are probably too many at one time, but,
Right.
but take a couple at a time. And when it comes your time to speak, just feel free to ask any question you want. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you.
That's what we're here for. So, congratulations, and looking forward to having you with us for next year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks to all departments. National Night Out was quite amazing. 6 o'clock, it was hard to find a place to park. And everybody was being pretty resourceful. They were driving around everywhere, you know, trying to find their spot. But it's just so well represented, and we always do so well with that. And it's just a great 2 hours for family. And so thanks for everything for that. I did want to let council know I did attend the Pennsylvania State Mayor's Conference July 20th through the Sunday, July 23rd. It was very informational and educational, and so it's always good for me to build relationships with other mayors throughout the state. And just to give you an idea of some of our speaker topics, FEMA, going to talk on emergency management. We had some cybersecurity. These are speakers talking to us on these subjects. We had AI, artificial intelligence. We had some talk about that. We had legal developmental presented by Stephen Corbel. He's with Pat Collin, and Stephen's. They talk really highly about Stephen within that group.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, because he's been coming back almost every year, and so he's really a great speaker and covers. When he talks, I figure I got you. So it's what he knows, you know. So, but thanks to him for that. And, let's see, we had AmeriCorps. They were there and letting us know what they do with helping us through certain situations. And also the Governor's Center for Local Government Services was there. So that was the overgist of everything. And also they at the appreciation. At the last big dinner we have on Saturday night, Franklin Park Borough got kudos mentioned because this is what we contribute to. Or $800. This is the mayor role in law enforcement. So we paid. They actually thought they were going to get this printed for $800, but it cost them like $1,600. But they're very appreciative of our $800. It's a wonderful book. I have one for the police department too, Lieutenant. And basically, I always seem to get assigned to do the prayers at these events. So I have a duty of prayer, for breakfasts and dinners and so forth. So it was good. What else? Oh, yesterday I had a call from Nancy Piper. Her husband's going on 100 years old. He's one that Jim Lawrence talks about so much. And in fact, Jim Lawrence wrote an article about his war experiences. If you go back into the articles a lot. So her question to me was, is there any way that we could honor Howard with a proclamation or something on his 100th birthday, which is September 22nd? So my instant response was absolutely. So that's something we can work through. But it's, he's 100, so
yeah.
Anyway, so that's out there. That's out there. What else? I've got a couple of things written down here. I moved my papers around. Oh, Sunday, July 23rd, DJs did a kickback to Franklin Park Borough. They had. I wasn't available for it because I was still in Lancaster. Well, it was in Lancaster where I was with the mayor's conference. But so they had a kickback for business that they did on July 23rd, and they collected. I think the number is 621. I'm a little bit vague on that, something like that. But Don and I are going up tomorrow to collect a check.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, they do things for nonprofits every once in a while, where 10% of their proceeds any given day, they will donate to a nonprofit. They donated to us for our scholarship.
Yeah, I think I may be a few dollars off that, but $621. But tomorrow night, Sorgles. Are you familiar with what's going on up there? Everybody familiar with what's going on up at Sorgles tomorrow? Let me get the whole thing up here for you. Let's see here, Sorgles tomorrow. There we go. Yeah, they are. This is the. If I'm repeating, anyway. Families and friends of Franklin Park are invited to come and join us on August the 3rd to celebrate Sorgles orchards in Franklin Park community. From 6:30 to 8:30, there will be free tractor rides, cider press demonstrations, a prize-winning giant, one of those horses like
draft horse.
Yeah, and self-guided walking tour, and some of the buildings will still be open, and food will be available. So if I've been back and forth with Randy today. I told him that I would be there tomorrow night, so please feel free to stop in. You know, and I think, that's all I have to say.
Sounds good. I'm sure it'll be enjoyable. I said I'm sure it'll be enjoyable, and it's really nice of them to do that.
Yeah, it will be, I'm sure.
Mr. Pellet.
I'm good, thank you. Welcome to council.
We witnessed it. We had the, I think it might be the third council land use planning committee, and discussed a lot of important issues. We talked about underground storage facilities and stormwater, and Max gave us a draft of an ordinance which we'd like to look at some more. We're also talking about getting the steep slopes revamped, and we're gonna work on the details for that. And we also picked up the Ross Township ordinance to look at what we might do with tree buffers, and we're gonna do some more research on that. We found, wound up talking about conditional uses, and we're gonna wait for the joint plan to see exactly where some of the undefined uses might default to, depending on some cooperative efforts between the two, between Ohio Township and Franklin Park. So good work going on there.
Very good. Thank you. I have two. One's pretty quick. Gary, I meant to ask you during the report. Do we know? I've got a couple questions about. Do we know how much longer the water line work's going to go on? I mean, Mark.
The last I heard, they were hoping to finish it in August, but with the problems they've been running into.
It seems to be a bit of a cluster.
I haven't heard anything lately on a finish date. I know that, like I said, that when I talked to them, they told me that they were projecting mid to late August to be finished.
Probably longer.
Yeah, it's gonna be, because every time you turn around, there's something else going on over there, so.
Okay, yeah, it seems.
No, I think that they had, there was some questions on I guess the school notified them or something, or, I don't know, they was talking about wanting them off the lots, the parking
Yeah,
lots
it's all,
over there.
I don't know if you've noticed, but they've got a lot of stuff up there in the school, and school starts in what, 2.5 weeks.
I was first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised they let them on there too.
I think you too.
That was all nicely paved and everything, so.
It's not nicely.
Me and Messman are done.
Anything that. Okay, and then finally, I think I forwarded to everyone some emails about pickleball in Old Orchard.
Look, can I just add one more thing?
Sure,
to what I said?
sure, Mr. Mayor.
Before we go? I did tell everybody about this. I want you to know that a resource publication by the Pennsylvania State Mayors Association, funded by the mayor and council of the borough of Franklin Park.
So pickleball, same issues, seems to be getting worse. I did forward those emails to everyone. I know there were at least 2 non-compliant. This is this evening. It seems to be that folks are waiting, 5 non-compliants issued this evening. Seems to be that folks are waiting until our office hours are over and then heading over with the regular balls. My position, this is not a police enforcement issue. That's still my position, very much so. And quite frankly, I think it shouldn't be a Readers Act enforcement issue either. The question is what do we do? Zach, go ahead.
So I stopped over before Phil's coming in anyway. I don't think it's a waiting issue. I think it's their working issue.
Okay.
The demographic has changed greatly, and it's now more
Younger.
our age,
Okay.
30s, late 20s couples who are out there playing. So they're working, coming home, going to the courts. So it's not a planned, hey, we're gonna wait till the offices are closed kind of thing.
It's just that's a schedule.
And I think we have gotten during office hours enforcement down enough that those people who are open during the day generally just go to Blueberry or North Park or McCandless now has the courts open. So I just think it's a work issue more than a borough hours issue.
That makes sense.
Are the Blueberry courts in the evenings generally filled?
When I'm there, they are.
We've seen probably,
I know during the day
they're hit or miss
Yeah.
between
I see more
heat of the
parents
day.
and kids
Yeah.
during the summer.
Yeah, between 10 and 3, you know, the heat of the day, they generally, and that's any court. It's not just the Blueberry thing. But I want to say court rentals alone are up 3-4-fold from last year. And I get daily calls on people trying to rent courts. And I would say at least half of my calls are from non-residents trying to rent courts. So it is other townships and boroughs trying to come in and find places to play. Like I said, other townships are building them. But there's also some issues going on in other townships where they're trying to not necessarily be around. So our courts, since they are not association run, since they are borough run, so far we've been, I don't know what the word is, clean as far as conflicts and things go. They're either rented or they're not, and we leave that one court open for free play at Blueberry, so that it can accommodate anybody coming in, but you may have to wait to play. And then as a resident, you have that right to get on those first 2 courts at any time with a reservation.
I think I told everyone last meeting or 2 meetings ago, I did talk to Jason Singer from McCandless, and I asked if they were putting in courts at Wall during the renovation. He said not during this renovation, but they were hoping to do so next year. Whether that, how many that is, whether it actually happens, whether that alleviates any pressure on us, I don't know. It's very close to Old Orchard. Maybe it would help, but it's not an immediate solution or an immediate help. It seems like we're really coming to a flashpoint here, and it doesn't seem like we have many options.
I'll jump in again.
Yeah, please.
It's, the quiet balls are there. They're just not using them. We haven't run out. We won't get any more, I can tell you that.
Yeah, we can't get a call back.
Yeah, it's come to the point of it's either whether you want to roll it back to the restricted hours like it was before, or repurpose. You've come to that point now. They're just not using the ball. And unless we have a monitor sitting there.
Pay with someone who's sitting for 12, 14 hours a day. And enforcement has been an issue from the beginning, and it seems to be even worse now. I think, in my opinion, Zach's right. Those are our options.
Are there cameras there? Yeah, I've not been there in 1 year. But what does the camera capture?
It's pointed towards the court.
It can tell there are people playing, it can't tell what kind of ball they're using.
Or
Noise.
Yeah.
It's just
faces, Lieutenant.
What's that?
Can it identify people or not really?
No, we would have to sit there and watch until they left, got in their car, and then see if the car got the plate reader, and then if the car was registered to them. That's how we'd be able to identify anybody.
Yeah,
If
which
there
is
was
just
time consuming.
ludicrous for the ball. I know, Jim, you had mentioned at one point that you thought maybe basketball courts at Blueberry would be around the same size, and you could reposition that. At some
You can
point.
put 3 more pickleball courts where basketball is, and then you have to move basketball.
Yeah, we definitely want to move basketball. That
You have to
gets
move,
a lot of.
there's
it's always
there's
busy.
room next to volleyball to put the basketball between there and those batting cages.
We would have to build them first.
And exact always, our biggest problem is parking, but
Right.
the parking's gonna be, many Saturday nights, type thing when you have, but other than that, I mean, I go through the park any given night. I mean, there's a lot of people that use any of those courts. The volleyball's full, the basketball's full, pickleball's full, so. I mean, there is room. I mean, obviously your parking on certain nights would be an issue.
Yeah, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday issue.
Yeah.
For, we have our hall there, which rents for quite a bit, and we promise that that parking lot is there for them.
Right.
We work hard to keep it clear for them, especially in the fall when football comes in. It's a point of conflict, honestly.
Is it tighter for football than baseball?
Yeah, just because, especially like outside teams,
Positioning.
and outside teams want to just park there and walk down the hill into the football stadium.
Sure.
Baseball's only when it's the tournament season. When it's in-house, obviously we don't have, the player coming with grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle, you know, they're not there for the tournament all day. It's one game and out, so it's a pretty quick turnover. But yeah, I just caution building a lot of courts, because a lot of courts then comes into that association, and it's not an easy thing to control once you lose control of it.
Is it regulated on number of courts?
No, but just, you know, you look at it now, and honestly, the most you're going to have there right now is 15 people. You know, you figure from 15 people, you get 12 cars. You double the amount of courts, you're probably going to go to 36 people and 28 cars in a 85 lot there, I think it is, 85 spot lot. So now you've lost a third of your parking to a Saturday night pickleball. And like I said, I mean, we suggest 140 in that hall. So when you're having weddings and grad parties and things like that, you know, they fill that lot. If they have a 140 person wedding, you get a solid 85 cars.
We're looking at updating our Parks and Open Space Comprehensive Plan. We've applied for a grant to help us in that effort. Some of the work we're going to do internally, I think the grant is mainly to help us with actually kind of preparing site plans. So we'll want to look at Blueberry Hill Park overall. So it's hard to have a shorter term solution. Ideally, we can move the drop off for brush and things to the road that leads back to our millings pile, and move that gate back further and use the areas that are there now for people to drop off as parking areas. But we don't know if that's ideally long. I mean, we may have other reason to use those areas for recreation once we sit down and look overall at what our needs are. We would be creating a parking problem if we were simply to go in and build new basketball courts and convert those courts.
Right, yeah, I agree. Parking has to be part of the solution.
First thing, we'd have to build a parking garage.
Hey, I mean, we laugh, but that park expanded quickly, and
How much can we get in that LSA grant up to?
Actually, GDF is up to $500,000, 500,000. I think LSA is the same.
how many layers can we get in?
Parking garage may be tough. But other improvements, I mean, surface parking and whatever, I mean, it may be a consideration for LSA.
I mean, yeah, we know parking looks like during the festival, but that's a once-a-year thing. It is what it, but with especially football, and after the pandemic, they switched to essentially a North Hills league. So it's basically the North Hills schools, which brings in more people because the grandparents actually travel to the game now instead of playing West Allegheny and traveling 40 minutes. They're coming from North Hills and traveling 10 minutes. They're coming from Shaler, things like that. So it's a lot closer teams, which is leading to more families being there. So parking, especially in the fall, is a major issue on Saturdays that we have games. And we have, outside of turf fields, we have the best youth football field. So people want to play games here. We have the best natural grass field in the league. So they want to be here. But we have a parking issue for how many sites we have in Blueberry. I mean, 2 rental sites, 1 football, and generally 2 or 3 baseballs going on a Saturday.
So the answer is basically maybe in 2 years we could consider additional courts in Blueberry, but I'm not. I think we want to make sure we know exactly what our recreational needs are, and lay out the park exactly the way we want it before we jump in and build something that we regret later.
Yeah, I think logistically we need to figure out the parking and the structures that we need there before we try to band-aid a problem and create a bigger problem.
So that puts you back to Old Orchard deciding you want to reduce the hours or simply eliminate the school.
How long can you play once 5 o'clock rolls around, like on the courts?
We The 9 to 7 was the original restricted hours.
But practically speaking.
But the issue with that was we were having the police lock it up and that's the shift
Yeah.
change. We don't want to do that again.
Yeah, that time was not a good time.
Play into the, I mean,
Into the night?
Yeah, as is lit.
No, it's not lit. But I mean,
There were
we've
people
gotten
playing after
reports
9
at
o'clock.
9
We've
o'clock,
gotten
yeah,
emails.
which is
Absolutely.
Even though it's not lit.
correct.
Even though it's not late, people play right up until they cannot see it.
Isn't the park closed at dark?
Dusk.
Dusk.
Well, that,
I mean,
yeah,
again,
that's
it's an
subject to
enforcement
interpretation.
of, I mean, it's not a big enough issue for us to send them up there to bother with that.
I mean, I'm just saying, like other parks, I don't know, here, but other areas, you get a ticket for being there, for being in the park after dusk.
I mean,
That's an enforcement issue.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the
we
Yeah,
problem.
and then we're
enforce
sending
it,
the police
but-
over there every night.
That's gonna happen.
And generally speaking, they're respectful and just, you know,
Okay.
not creating
It's
havoc.
not one of those showing up and like,
No.
you're in violation here.
Right, they're not breaking bottles and stuff. At least from my experience. I don't know if you have a different experience, Lieutenant, feel free to.
No, generally, you know, especially the pickleball crowd over there is not been an issue. But it does put us in a situation if we gotta enforce park rules.
Yeah, I guess the third option is just to remove all restrictions other than the park rules. But
What did you just say?
I said the only other option would be to remove all restrictions except for the existing park rules, to let them play with whatever ball, but obviously that, I'm not in favor of that. It's an option.
We might come to that once you remember these balls.
So how are we consuming the balls?
I mean,
There's quite a few left.
it's slower because they're choosing not to use them.
Right.
Pickleballers they won't play with those
Yeah.
balls. If they don't bounce right, they don't move right, it messes your game up. And they've always been very respectful. They rather just play with their ball until they're told to leave. You know,
So why don't we talk a little more about repurposing?
Yeah, I mean, they'll always, every time I approach them, all right, fine.
there's people that know that they just won't go there because they're not going to use that ball, so they won't go there. But there's people that will push the limit until they're told to leave, and it's close to their homes or their neighborhood, and they feel that, you know, use it until they're told not to.
Although I had the case where I went over and asked them not to, and half hour later, they were back to using it.
Yeah, that's. My opinion is for tonight, we should either say, assuming you don't want to remove all restrictions, shut it down at the end of business day, which is what, 4:30, 5 o'clock?
I'm sorry, look.
I mean, but there's no, short of us going out there and taking nets down, and you do that, they're gonna bring their own nets.
Well, yeah, for those of you, if you weren't around during the pandemic, that happened. I mean, we took down the nets and they brought their own nets.
Yeah,
That
they'll
happens.
find a way to play.
Hey, look, I'm sorry, I missed what your last comment there.
Just that we have the two options to look at tonight, I think, either shutting it down completely or shutting it down at the end of business hours. But as Zach said, they'll probably still play, find a way to play. I agree with you on the repurposing, but I think it's a longer term conversation.
Oh, sure.
If you're considering restricting the hours to 4:30 or 5 o'clock, so obviously we're not gonna have folks coming home from work and playing. Is there a way to just padlock, chain the court so nobody gets in?
The
You have to
fences
say
are
that.
too short, they'll hop them, they can hop them.
Yeah, I mean,
They did it before when we used, because that's what we used to do. We used to unlock them every day at 9, and then
Right.
whenever the police could get around, it was 7, I believe. They would come and lock them at the end of the night. But, you know, especially, you know, somebody gets sick and doesn't get over there, or they're busy with a call, it's not a guaranteed system when you have to use the padlock.
It's really convoluted,
it is.
really convoluted.
I mean, unfortunately, we would have to count on people, we'd be asking people to police themselves, which
They're kind of built for people to play.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
we'd have to make them unusable somehow.
Hey, Reese, we did start something where we were being able to figure out who, and we wrote them a letter, and,
Well, that means that every time they email us that somebody's playing, we have to run over
yeah,
and ask them to stop playing. If they persist, we have to have the police look at the video, pick up the license plate number so we can figure out who they are,
yes.
and then send them a letter.
Which is just
We-
untenable.
And that's if they drove there.
Yes.
True.
Yeah,
And it's our part.
And then they come and file right to know request for how many calls we had and our response times,
Yes.
because they want police to do something different with their time. So we've had that request made.
Are there repeat offenders? I'm just curious. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I mean, yes, there's.
We,
offenders, but-
again, 5 times tonight, we would have been running over there asking people to stop.
I was getting messages while we were meeting.
Yep.
just saying, conveying the message that this continues. Courts fish it up in the season. I mean, it's.
We've pretty much made that clear.
I think
Are
we
we
made
that
that,
point?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're at that point. I don't,
Any parent knows what.
we've resisted it as long as.
This is why we can't have nice
I think
things.
it's
right?
reasonable.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that's a good start, say it's done for the season, and then we can address it during the off season.
But practically speaking, what does it mean that it's done for the season?
Means we take the nets down, if somebody has their own nets, they'll bring them, but
Okay.
Or we somehow store something in there to make it unplayable, I don't know. Padlock and.
Just lock the gates, and if they're in it, then they know now they hop the fence that's locked, but they definitely know they shouldn't be there.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to that step, then you would need signage to identify that it is closed and you're
And they can
trespassing.
play
yeah,
Blueberry.
yeah, now they're trespassing, and it's actually something we can do.
And send them to Blueberry Park. So the sign should say, please, we moved, the place been moved to Blueberry
So
Park.
we don't have enough courts.
And blueberries full. That's.
There's luck of the draw.
It's like 16 courts.
Well, that's why you reserve a court. You actually have to play.
Most of them are long here too, so.
Maybe we put that on, I mean, we don't want a very wordy sign, but maybe we put that on, you can reserve courts at Blueberry Park, I don't know. I mean, thoughts, I don't, I can't have this conversation without John and Tom here, but I think it's at a
I mean, essentially 6, 7 a.m. till 11 p.m. the lights out.
I mean, there's no way to just keep that going.
What, all night?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you demand.
No, because you burn them lights. Once they're on, they're on.
Okay.
So you would burn lights essentially 12 hours a night, every night. And they're obviously spotlights. They big money.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not, unfortunately, they're not LEDs.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not LEDs,
No.
okay.
No,
They're the old
it's only $1 million
yeah.
to convert to LED.
Yeah.
Well,
That's not
reasonable.
I mean,
That's
I
feasible.
feel like if you're this hardcore player, you will find a way to play in. If there's a court open at 3 a.m. Blueberry.
I mean, but that also then leads to them having to patrol that park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do, but when we've had events that go beyond late at night, then there's other locations in the park that are drawing people who are not doing what they were supposed to be doing in the park.
Would there be a way to get the quiet balls like at Orchard Hill? Because what I've heard from some people is like they see the sign, but then they don't want to drive here and then drive back.
We actually have them.
Oh, they are
Yeah,
there.
there's locks, yeah.
There's a pocket there they could use and then just put it back when they're done.
Maybe it's not visible enough, I don't know, but
So it is.
There they are.
When I went over and asked them to stop using the regular ball, they just walked over and picked one out.
Okay, there you go.
And the quiet balls are hard, we can't get them, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
it looks like they
But
decided they're
it's
not
not
the
like it
answer.
ran out.
Stop.
Yeah, they're not
Usually
going
a
to
couple
play.
dozen.
By
Pickleball
definition,
is
it's
do
not
not play.
pickleball. Like if you talk to pickleball players,
Yeah.
by definition, that's no longer pickleball. Because it doesn't have that wiffle ball bounce.
They don't bounce the same.
Yeah.
You can't play the
Like
same,
playing
your
baseball.
timing's off, everything's off.
Yeah, or you start playing baseball with a tennis ball or something.
That's
Can we just name that one as a softball ground or something? Like if you want to play like a pickleball, you go at Blueberry Park. We just name like a softball.
New sport.
You know what I mean? And so if anyone want to play like a pickleball, and it's a violation.
That's the wrong court for that. All right.
Well, whatever you do, you have to prepare a community announcement and explain if it is a shutdown, reasons why, and I'm sure. In general, we've done, like just day-to-day, controls in the park. We've not had a public vote, we haven't had public comment, just because they never really rose to the level of needing that. Is it something that you want to have a public vote on? That's how we've done it before. It's not necessary. You would hear both sides, and you hear a lot of it. But
The only upside to that, I would say, is that we get John and Tom back and get their input, but I'm sure they're gonna, support whatever decision we come to here if we do decide to do it tonight. I don't think that we'll hear a lot or anything new if we do it that way, but
who knows?
It's up to you guys. Either way, I'm okay.
So what kind of a sign will we have for that? What's the requirement?
Court's closed.
Yeah, I mean,
Go to
Trespassing.
Go to
Trespassing.
Blueberry. Yeah, I mean, some of those ones we have now, use quiet balls and hours of operation. And we have a sort of a catch-all provision in the recreation ordinance that says, failure following posted parks rules is a violation.
So the posting will be still for as court is closed. Whatever.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be too involved, but I think the other questions about how do you secure it, decommission it, put something else in there or whatever. It's another consideration. Yeah, it doesn't sound, talking about hours of operation, just posting a sign that says it's 9 to 5 and start citing people who are there at 5:30. But certainly whatever type of outreach there could be, it's not just we close the courts, it's got to be attempted many potential solutions, including quiet balls, restricted hours, et cetera, that's not being complied with and chosen to close those. Please go to Blueberry or other community facilities.
Yeah, when we came to this compromise with the softballs, we said if it wasn't followed, and if it wasn't followed, we'd have no choice but to close the courts.
Weekdays, your best idea, what's the volume of play during like the day? Now that people are back at work and they have to come home to play. I mean, what's it like?
I mean, it's the same at Blueberry. There's just not a lot of play generally between 10 and 3.
So 10 and 3 should be fairly silent most days.
And that's what their complaint is it's coming after borough hours, so after 4:30 and on the weekends. Like I said, when we had restricted hours, it wasn't bad. They knew what the hours were. We had less violations, we'll put it that way, with restricted hours than we do with quiet ball.
So, but quiet ball made it, in your view, made it worse in a lot of ways.
It's,
Yeah, it affected them walking in the gate. Our guy, the parks guys had to, whatever job we were doing, we had to wait till 9 o'clock, go over there, or wait till 9 o'clock to go there and clean the restroom. So it was a timing issue. Just logistically, between the two entities trying to keep it open and closed, their time's being diverted.
We could, hypothetically, we could have regular play from like 3:30 to like 7:30 or something like that. We would expect that, even though there's times where it might happen other times, but mostly it's quiet during that time period from like 10 to 3:30. So we'd be having this one period of time where there'd be play. If we did if we played the numbers, if we have the information.
We would just need somebody available to lock the courts then at the time we shut it down, or people will continue playing after
Yeah,
that.
which we did that. So for the most part, it's going to be intentional violators that are jumping the fence, so to speak.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Right?
well, that's what, we didn't have a ton of fence jumpers.
That's it, when you would play
unless-
regular pickleball.
Are the police able to lock it every night at 7:30?
The problem with 7 o'clock thing is that's when we change shifts, so we sort of a roll call. You know, we're not gonna be able to get over there at 7, you know, by,
Maybe like by 8 or something.
by 8 or whatever. I mean, we can get around that time, you know, barring nothing going on.
They will play up until
Until
they
the,
get kicked off.
right, and then there's only gonna be really like flagrant violators at that point, which you shouldn't be that many or any at all, but I'm just considering, can we use it in this way, in the way it was with the pickleball, right? And still not totally upset our residents that are around the park if they know this is the time when it's going to get played. This is, you know, we're gonna play from this time to this time, and then it's shut down. You get your sleep, you get your quiet time, whatever it is.
But that's what it was before, and they still,
It didn't.
They weren't happy with it.
they weren't happy.
We tried that, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, that was the original, I mean, the original was open all the time. The first, you know, compromise was the reduced hours.
Yeah,
That wasn't good enough. That's when we
Tried
switched
everything,
to
it feels like we tried everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the option is.
And the reason we went away from the first compromise is,
The continued complaints from the neighbors.
I mean, you need a repurposed court, I'm not sure where you're gonna put there that is. No noise.
We have some stuff, but again, you know, we're going to spend tens of thousands to repurpose them.
It would be some non-racket related,
Yeah.
Shuffly thing or something.
simply things or miniature golf things or
Yeah, we have
More outdoor exercise
some,
equipment.
we've looked at some
cornhole.
options, but
That's
it's
it,
going to
those
cost
are
some
more
money.
options, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to cost some money to do.
But still make noise.
It was still I mean,
Oh, yeah,
and that's the
cornhole
thing,
beanbags
almost
make a lot of
everything's
sense.
going to
Everything.
make noise.
It's gonna get noise, so no matter what.
Called chess.
Why don't you get
This big
Central
Good
Park.
and yard noise in the
Yeah.
park. Right.
Some communities have,
Giant chess.
some communities have a splash pool, right? And then they use them for ice skating in the winter. But I would imagine a splash pool creates a lot of noise.
And it's extremely expensive to
Yeah,
install
but-
and maintain.
And the liability.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, I do not think that's a path.
You don't even have, again, parking issues. at our
Well,
park.
we had the exercise equipment, we must talk about that.
Does that get used, that, all that exercise equipment that's there?
Was that not much. I mean, the original intent was for caregivers, parents,
Yeah.
to work out while their kid played on the playground. But you basically have no sight line to the playground from the exercise equipment.
And the workout's chasing your kids around.
It really is.
That wasn't,
The workout station.
again, you're ripping out money, you
Or you put them.
major money you spent
Put those around the track.
around the track. And
Put
that's,
something bigger in that area.
that's what I had originally said was that really should have been like an exercise trail. You should have taken those pieces and spaced them out around your trail so that you get a circuit around the park.
That makes sense, actually.
Well, McAllen's workout station has a sponsor, right?
It'll still cost you 80 grand. We've talked to that group before. They do 40,000, you have to raise 40,000, and you have to contribute
And
40,000.
they get the naming rights. That's a terrible deal. It's a terrible deal.
Well, whoever gives you the most money for your 40,000 that you raised gets the naming rights.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That doesn't fix pickleball either.
No.
Pickleball seems to be very broken.
There, for sure.
Yeah.
Just going back to the original compromise where you have shift changes at 7, roll call, potentially you could be over there 7:30 by 8 to lock up. And if someone's there, does the borough actually have the power to cite the individuals or?
I could reclose it. Yeah.
It's a part, Piston Park rule, there's I mean, you can speak to whatever we can.
Yeah, but I think the issue is between 3 PM and then the evening, you guys get inundated with complaints about the people using the court with balls that make noise, right? So I don't know that allowing it to 7 o'clock is a solution. I mean,
It's
It's up to
not
you guys.
considered a compromise by the folks living around the courts.
And when they put that park in, the borough said that they weren't gonna put anything in there. It was just gonna be a walking trail, and I think that is the reason why those people are so upset that live along there, is that's deviated from that. I know time has come and people change and things change, but they're still there and they remember that.
It happens to be a neighborhood.
In fact, I was part of that.
Yeah.
I was part of that.
So the original intent of the park is no noise.
Yeah, it was gonna be just
Just a low key.
It can't be a neighborhood park, it's a borough park. But there was also sold to us, and I was included in those people listening at that time, that there was gonna be just a no impact park, just no lights, and, walking trails, and just watching nature, and, whatever.
Aren't there birthday parties that happen there and stuff?
There are, I know there were some complaints about, CDG was using like amplifiers, speakers. They've stopped doing that, so I think that was kind of a compromise.
That was one night, yeah.
Okay. But these birthday parties have noise, right?
Yes, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and that's they were going there, they were having the birthday parties
Okay.
without us having, I mean, they were making a mess without us having any connection to who it was, what, and
Yeah.
being up there. So we started renting it, so now they know, we know who they are, we have the damage deposit on them, so we can track what's going on up there. And it also helps the park guys, because they know coming in on a Saturday or Sunday morning, hey, there was a party at Old Orchard on Friday night, I gotta get up there and dump all the trash.
Just saying from a noise perspective.
I think it's
I think
different,
that
it's a
was the-
different
it's a
noise,
different
it's
noise,
not
I
a
think is
nuisance
the
noise,
problem.
kids in the playgrounds, what,
That was the
with a
only
ball
real
banging.
complaint, was the amplifiers, right?
For that party, yeah.
For birthdays, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the amplification of music and.
Yeah.
I mean, the original intent of the park is no noise. You can go back to that. I don't know if you park on the pickleball court.
No.
Equipment.
Like I said, I mean, we can come up with wider options, yes, they're out there, but it's, I think it's that the paddle ball connection noise is the issue.
Yeah, for example, we were worried about the musical flowers, and they've been okay, right?
There haven't been any complaints. And Dennis himself has tested them. So.
You didn't hear. So I guess, do we want to restrict hours? Do we want to shut it down? Do we want to wait for 2 weeks? Are three options, I think.
Do you want to, I mean, it sounds like you might want to get the way of John and Tom on this as well.
I'm okay with that. If you guys want to do that.
Are there less people that use it like as the weather changes? Like in the
We
fall?
shut it down October 1st.
October 31st.
October 31st.
April 1 to October 31st is our season for parks.
We keep Blueberry open. We did all year, didn't we?
Blueberry stays open.
Can you still visit Orchard?
Yeah, the park
Oh, they
itself
still-
is
yeah,
open, but like,
The bathroom's closed, whenever the bathroom's closed, the
Like
volleyball
that's-
comes down, the pickleball comes down.
like technically all of our fields, like football, baseball, all that's shut down between those times. We don't let anybody come in, organization.
Liberal closes the gate November 1st, they had a hard.
So, does Blueberry Park have enough people for players?
No, but you could build 100 courts there. And it
I know,
wouldn't be-
what I'm saying that, and you, I remember you said, and we also rented that the court, to that the outside, right? Cool.
Sorry.
No, you rent out, right?
We rent court 1 and 2. So we have 3 courts at Blueberry, we rent court 1 and 2. They're available for our residents to rent, and only our residents.
Can we just stop and just let the who come first, who use it?
No, you don't want,
You're
You say just our residents, that's what it was for.
Yeah.
yeah, you can't, again, it becomes an enforcement issue. Unless you're gonna have somebody stand there and check driver's licenses to see where they live. You'll never, because that's going on at McCandless right now where my understanding is there's a sign up that says, preference to residents, which essentially means that if a resident comes, you're supposed to vacate the court.
Yeah.
And until someone's gonna walk up there and tell them they need to get off the court, kind of like the quiet pickleball, until someone's gonna be there to enforce it,
Where are their
Doesn't
offices
work.
at? Where are the headquarters?
Right behind the borough.
Okay, just that field there.
They moved one of the basketball courts, right? Or is it,
I don't know if they repurposed the tennis courts there.
is that
I think that's what they did. Because they just painted lines on them when I was still there. Because pickleball players came out and forced men in pickleball. That was-
So, one
I
last,
think they finally converted them completely.
one last thought. Just think of the golf course, people go to the golf course, it's gorgeous, they pay money to play it. Perhaps maybe pickleball should be one of those things that you pay money to play, and there's somebody there who's attendant, and the pickleball court is attended, whenever we want it attended. It's just a thought. And it also, with limited resources, you normally have to put some type of a charge on the limited resources. We have limited resources right now, a scarce resource, in fact, and one that's very sought after. Maybe that's something we need to think about.
it is charged. The residents are charged a fee for using the court.
At Blueberry.
At Blueberry.
For reserve.
If they reserve,
Yes.
they just walk up.
Yeah, there's drop-in about, like right now, like I said, we have 3 courts, one's completely drop-in. The first 2 are reservable, they pay a fee to reserve them.
Okay, but if you drop in, you don't pay anything?
But you're also at the mercy of whoever's there.
So if somebody shows up and says, I have this court at 8, they have a right to kick you off.
Correct. And there's signs there, you can scan, you can see the schedule at any point in time. Resident or non-resident, you can pull the schedule and see who's has reserved times and what time they're reserved.
So how about we put the Orchard Park and the court and also make it to rent out, just like, if you want to play there, pay and you play there.
I don't think that's gonna solve your softball issue.
The sound, the sound.
Yeah, the people who live around there will pay to play there, and then the people who don't want to hear it will still complain if they're hearing it.
And generally, the ones that reserve are the more serious players, right? Who don't want to use dart balls.
Just coming off that, I mean, I don't know if it is a thought, but if you're charging Orchard, you have to scan, there's a person, you have the person's name and everything, right? If your requirement is you can pay to play using that softball, I mean, do you think it could be a possibility? Because they are reserved.
You can still do it. You can still reserve Old Orchard. It's a lot lower fee, but my Orchard rentals, if we had a dozen this year, I'd be surprised.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, those are the people who will probably go in and play with the quiet ball because they know we have the ability to see who's there at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, your more serious players who are willing to put money forth for it aren't going to use that quiet ball. They don't want anything to do with it.
Will they pay to use the court?
Yeah.
I mean, if they pay to use the court, they're violating park rule and it's a finable. That's right.
I just don't think they're going to reserve.
Okay,
No
yeah,
matter what.
that's true. Do any of our neighboring municipalities have this problem? Have we talked about it?
Again, I mean, I know
Or one of the.
the Kansas residents want more.
Yeah, none that have put pickleball near residential properties that I've heard of.
Right. So if they put them at Wall, you have that strip
Yeah,
across.
it could be.
Ohio Township's putting one in, I think, at the upper level there.
Yeah,
There are some houses there, but
it's mostly the
Newer
school.
stuff, right?
I think you're going to
yeah,
have very
but
little.
it's right along Nicholson Road.
It's pretty flat on the top there.
Yeah.
But Wall, I can see
Wall
I
could
can see
have
having issues with
some
Wall.
pushback. There's probably about, 6, 8 houses right there.
Maybe
across the
even,
street.
yeah, maybe even 10, 12.
Yeah, Marshall.
Yeah, maybe.
Marshall doesn't have courts.
Gregory, that complex? is that by-
Well, but that's the thing, that complex isn't really very close. to
Yeah, it's kind of like
anything.
us with Blueberry, where it's not near any residences, so it's
Far,
no problem.
okay.
And that weird topography there, it really is a big factor.
Is there some grant that would give us a way to cover that thing so nobody hears what's going on inside it?
If we wanted to see a dome in the middle of the park,
Oh.
we probably could get a
Cool.
grant for that.
Never mind.
Yeah, you know.
It doesn't look terribly natural.
That defeats the
I guess you
purpose.
could paint the outside of the dome.
Yeah.
You're all
Optical illusion.
That sounds like a good junior council project.
If that case, just shut down temporarily and see like, how to respond.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, we shut it down for the season, long go through options. And I think options probably are repurposing it, but if we come up with some genius idea, I don't think the hours restrictions work, but that's just my opinion.
We tried, I lost a little bit of this.
Yeah, I think that's the way I would lean, is to say we're shutting it down for the season while we investigate options, because nothing is working.
I agree.
I would suggest that if we're investigating options, we don't repurpose it to anything until we've completed our review of our overall park comprehensive plan and what our needs are, and then we do something that we know is going to work here.
Yeah, I agree.
So it'll just be a place for kids to throw sand on, and
Yeah.
but you leave the quiet pickleballs there, we can just throw them.
Just take, can we take the fence out?
Stray dog kennel?
Take the fence out.
We don't get enough stray dogs. The dog park,
Deer pen? Frog
That's
park?
what people do now. There's tennis court,
Are there?
take your dogs and let them run around without leashes.
That's true.
Are we gonna get a call when you let the noise?
yes.
Yeah, that's what
That section of the noise.
That noise can be amplified.
Can't really take the fence out, right, Jim? We decided that it's.
I mean, you could take out the two short
You're gonna
fences,
see,
but
I mean, they're all asphalted around the concrete right now.
Since they may serve a purpose in the future, we wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, for now, if you just take the nets down and leave the pools in.
But if you leave the gate open, kids will just play on it.
Kids were playing, kids were playing on it
Yeah,
from the
right.
beginning, they were bringing their bikes, that was an issue, because we weren't allowing any bikes in there. For now, if let the, a lot of moms with the training wheels, it's a good little closed-in area,
That's
that
true.
mom can let kid on it with his helmet and his training wheels, and he can just go around the fence and do his laps type thing.
Skateboarding's nice. though.
Because the pickleball post can come out.
We wouldn't.
Those aren't cemented in, we can take the post, the pickleball post out, just the fence post would stay for now. We used to pull them, we pulled them for winter, the entire post and all, so that they wouldn't be able to put their nets up at that point. We just leave it for kids to play in it, all the sand will be there, but
Which way?
well, no, they'll bring their portable nets.
But there's a lot of sand in here.
well, yeah, your sign, and there's just a sign, but then they are a DEFRA violation.
Yeah.
Or they can put the signs up high above the fence where they can't say they didn't see it down here. It's clearly right on the gate. I mean, these will quiet things down for now, until we decide what we're doing.
That's my vote. You guys feel
So
free to weigh in.
instead of the rest of the season, do you want to do it on trial basis? And I don't know, maybe
Until further notice.
send a message.
I think you're still kicking your can.
Yeah, it seems like we've tried everything at this point.
Yeah, I think you're at the point of regular pickleball or repurpose.
I mean, you had a good idea, Reach, shut it down, but as a part of planning for the long term.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
Asking the hard questions.
I'm having, I love to solve problems, as you know. I'm just not every place I turn here, there's a problem. That's my, that's my concern. And I've run out a bunch of different, and we're going like in circles. And the main problem is that people love pickleball, and people don't like pickleball in their, around the residences.
I mean, I just want to say one thing. I mean, it's
Sure.
yes, as a resident, it's probably figured to hear the ball, but this is better than a large subdivision coming there.
That's true.
So there's always a grass scooter on the other side. And in this case, the side that they're on. Because I think like whatever you do there, even if you have alternatives, it is going to make noise. And the basic problem here is if you're a surrounding resident, you do not want change. If there's any noise added to that, that's change that you're perceiving as a resident. So if you had abandoned, I don't know, dog park, skateboarding, riding a bike around, you are gonna have a similar issue. Maybe to a different degree, but you're gonna have that issue. But yeah, it's fine if we want to temporarily shut it down to put out there that we are looking at the long term. I mean, I think we do need to look at pickleball as a long term. It is growing. There's a lot of demand, not just here, but all throughout the United States. And I think as we have an aging demographics, it is a pretty important in terms of like cognitive function and the ability to play a sport at that age.
Dr. Lee, what do you think?
I think that probably right now is the best option. Probably just shut down temporarily, but and we need to really tell that residents that why we shut down is because that there are too many complaints, and so we cannot really move on. So and we are also looking at the other options. So we are not like and react and because some residents will say like, oh yeah, you built this here and you shut down and you kind of like you're wasting that.
Yeah, right. We're going to reuse that surface one way or another.
So it's a proactive decision that we're not getting rid of pickleball for residents. We're actually looking for places to expand it that makes more sense and it's going to be more usable in the long run. This maybe has kind of run its course as far as usability.
Yeah, we're looking for better options that fit that park.
Mm-hmm.
And, to expand pickleball elsewhere.
Right. I mean, there's at least, it's possible to build 3 more courts, but then we've got a parking issue that we created.
We have sufficient land in Blueberry that we can work on the parking issues, just not an overnight issue.
It's a timing thing.
Yeah,
It's a long term.
Yeah, we want to make sure we know exactly what we're going to do with all the property in Blueberry, including the 11 acres we're purchasing and the 3 that we just donated.
It needs to coordinate. It can't just be haphazard.
Exactly, or we end up with
this.
pickleball court where it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, you need to weigh in.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the reason we struggle with this so much is because we've tried all the options that we talked about, and nothing works. And we've been, what now, 3 years into this, 2 years?
At least, it feels like
So I think the only way you're going to solve one problem at least is to close it, shut it down. And then, of course, you're going to create a new problem with people that are upset because we're closing it down. But I don't think that much. I think that you always have to make the right decision. So I think the right decision is to come up with good options, work through it. And for right now, we just close it down.
Yeah, I think reluctantly, it sounds like we're all on the same page here.
We do understand that as part of our comp plan update, we need more courts.
Yeah,
Yes.
Some more courts. We don't have many yet.
Right.
More work.
Or where.
More work.
Joey, do you play pickleball?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
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 And it's moved into a lot younger generation.
Yeah, I've
than what it
noticed that
started
just
out.
even in Blueberry.
Yeah.
Where do you play?
Orchard Hill.
He's playing.
I do. I'm not the quiet ball.
I will say I have not kicked her off the court.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Orchard Hill.
Okay, that's all I have. Julia, if you'd like to weigh in on anything.
I mean, I do see there's definitely going to be some pushback from the people that do play there, but at the same time, if it was originally built for the purpose of being a quiet park, then I see that that's a good reason to shut it down temporarily.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I really do think they've exhausted every other option short of building it to home, which I don't think we wanted to.
I guess we keep saying temporarily. but really,
You mean permanent?
the pickleball side of it is permanent.
Well,
Right.
And
The
that's,
space is
I don't-
temporarily
yeah.
shut down.
Right.
I was gonna say, and
Yeah, and
that's,
if you.
we
think
don't
that
wanna
people
put,
ride
like,
bikes in there or something,
this is a
you can take
temporary
it off,
pause
or
on
whatever you
pickleball.
think.
Do you
That's
That
bad.
leaves the door open.
I would
want us to
pull the
proceed
balls.
with that immediately?
I think so.
Effective immediately, we'll go ahead and take steps to make that.
What do you guys think? I don't see.
Yeah, it's fine.
Wait.
I don't think
We
we're-
tried every option.
We have the data.
Exhausted all
To back up the
the.
decision, so that's what you can use as the reasoning. I mean, it sounds like we put some signage.
It wouldn't be bad to post something on the website too,
For sure.
explaining why,
Absolutely.
why we came
And on
to this
Facebook.
bad
Yeah,
decision.
we'll write something out
It's
to
a hard decision.
explain.
And I think that's one thing we do need to do is,
Publicize.
yeah, not necessarily kick this tomorrow, but give us a few days to get the
Do a
signage
month.
to, hey, we will, as of this date, these courts will
Yeah.
be.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Right, yeah.
I think we need to do it that way
Yeah.
instead of, because like you said, it's gonna take
But
me a
it-
couple days for signs, it's gonna take
It's just a matter of
those
days.
guys a couple days.
So they, so they,
And then as part of a response, we should have a history of the original tenant, that part, the quiet part. And part of this is messaging. So you don't want to just make it look like we made an arbitrary decision because it seemed easy.
Right.
I think it's also the joint plan that you were talking about, this, all of the different surveys that we've taken, all the information that we've collected, all the data is leading to the conclusion that we need to move to a place where we can have a lot more courts all in one place and not have this little isolated court in the middle of a park. That's just not, it's not, it doesn't make sense.
It's not the right spot.
No.
2 courts here and 3 here.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it makes better sense to have like a complex because
And then people have no idea when they can play or how much, I mean, it's a mess right now, it's random.
Yeah, I'd say we leave it up to Zach and Region Jim to figure out what the data is. And
Zach, just not to continue the pickleball discussion, but if you take those down, you're gonna leave the courts open for other activities? Because then if people bring their own pickleball nets, then it becomes an enforcement issue for us. If people are allowed to do, you take it to the ridiculous level, now you'd be like, well, what are you allowed to do in there? If you can't bring your own pickleball nets to play in there, can we play Foursquare?
Well, I
You
think
know,
that's the answer is the signage will be
no pickleball.
no pickleball.
Yes.
Anything else? No pickleball. Okay.
move it down to basketball.
I mean, they can play.
Until we get a complaint on it.
imagination comes up with.
Just because we're gonna get called, and I want to have a strategy for how we're gonna address that with the.
I won't be in the office the next 3 weeks. You're behind us when you're leaving on vacation.
Right, goodbye.
pickleball.
Well, the chief will be back on Monday.
He'll be thrilled.
Yes.
End of the year, he's had.
Yes, yes.
I don't know, that's all I have. Anybody have anything else?
I got a question for Rich, actually. I'm getting pushback, I don't know whether you are, the old orchard with the trees coming down.
I have heard.
You know, I know we're having a pollination.
Yeah, we are removing some old cherry trees, many of which are dying and look like crap. We will have a program in place to return as much of the area as we can to nature. And we'll plant trees that actually serve a purpose.
Okay.
Habitat, food, that kind of thing, that are actually good for nature. Just because it's a tree doesn't mean it's the best thing you can have there.
And we did have the Audubon Society come in and give us.
Recommendation.
Yeah, that's for a different thing, but this is, we're taking down some old ratty cherry trees.
Because we had people say, oh, they're still alive.
But
Well,
they are-
over the
but they
weekend,
are
we had a
garden-
new cherry
you
tree
have the
just
garden
fall out of the woods for
Yes.
no reason, so.
Yes. Again, I've cut down over 100 trees on my property in the last year. Norway maples, they are invasive species, they are horrible trees. My neighbor says, but they're trees, you can't cut them down. Well, guess what? Nothing grows under them. They're terrible, so I'm cutting them down. Not every tree is a good tree.
These could fall over on someone and we can get sued. That's another way to look at it.
Oh, yeah.
These are dying trees, they could fall on
They
someone.
look, they
and they
look
can-
like crap.
We had
Yeah,
one
danger.
And it's
We had
a
one
liability
fall out
for-
Friday night,
yeah.
actually on the mayor's side of the park, there was one that fell across the path on Friday night.
It'll look much
Yeah, I
nicer
saw
when
that,
we're all
actually.
done.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we that whenever we cut like this kind of tree, and it's possible that we can take a picture or something like it, just to show public and and look, and this is kind
Dying
of
tree.
crap and just like horrible and where we place those street with some other,
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
other places where they have like pictures up saying, we are in the process of restoring this.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually an article in the newsletter that's coming out that talks about what we're doing in our parks.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
Explains why we're cutting down those
good,
trees.
okay.
That'll be out in the month
Yeah.
and people can read it.
Well, that sounds good.
But we were removing invasive shrubs and people were complaining that it was
Wow.
taking away the rabbit habitat. They're bad shrubs, we gotta get rid of them.
The rabbits can find another place. so-
Rich, aren't we gonna get to a point too, we're gonna start burning some of this?
Yeah.
In the Meldon Nature Preserve area, we're gonna burn the old, canary reedgrass that we have to get rid of, it's very invasive.
But that is when you get the right expert to do the burning, because you can't
Exactly.
just burn it.
Someone we can afford.
Yeah.
Oh, it just remind me sometimes, because they are hunting, and so is that the program still ongoing, or they are hunting, and so it's, because I'm seeing like for the last couple of weeks, I've seen like quite a bit, yeah, just like walk around and, in my backyard. Or
Yeah, we'll have a final recommendation for you at the September work session.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, you just look like it's getting.
Reached out to Fox Chapel, they do some unique things.
Oh, good.
After hours, that we're not gonna do.
Okay, good. Yeah, they spoke to McCandless and Chief Hawk over there. He said that he was not in favor of having their department participate in that. There's nothing but risk involved in it. There's no real upside to utilizing borough employees to take those deer out.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah, we're not going that route.
Well, deer calling, Fox Chapel has a program to go out and they shoot deer.
But we can still have hunters on our properties, and we can reference this to private property owners who meet requirements.
You have like a program, that Deer Angel program, where.
Yeah. Exactly. Which Fox Chapel does have that, where they actually have an online form people can fill out saying, I'd like to talk to
Bring
someone
them on.
hunting my property.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, we can do
I've got
that.
neighbors who've been asking about that, and I think that's a good idea.
Anything else, guys? All right. Executive session. Yes, sir.